Welcome to another episode of CrossTalk. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will be your host for the next 30 minutes. Now, as you've come to expect from this particular program that we have here on WHCA, is we do our best to bring in things that represent folks and businesses and events in both Whitman and Hanson. Sometimes, if we have a good political season like what just passed, you may see candidates running on all different levels, whether it's county level, the state level, and beyond. Well, today we're going to be talking a little bit something right here in your very own backyard if you are a resident of Whitman, and talk about an event that is coming to a conclusion. We have joining us my guest today. He is the chair of the WinterFest committee, none other than Mr. Richard Rosen, sir.
How are you, Kevin?
Welcome back to CrossTalk. I can't say welcome to the show because you've been here a number of times. I thought it was important to have you in here to talk and have a conversation in regards to some of the things that you and your committee members have done over the years. The committee known as WinterFest. How did WinterFest initially start?
You know, I've told the story many times.
And you're going to tell it again.
And I'm going to tell it again. I've told it from this seat probably 20 years ago to the late Dorothy Benner. But anyway, about 22 years ago, it'll be 22 years ago in March, I was driving up South Avenue and I got to the intersection of Washington and Temple, and Duval's was on my right. And it was a cold, blustery, miserable day, and there was still snow on the ground and snowbanks, and it was dirty, and there was just a lot of bad things going on in the town, a lot of negative things. And I was sitting there and I said to myself, it would be nice if we could brighten up this town, brighten up this center. And I remembered from when I was a kid, 50 years ago now, not 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago now, that when I was a kid, there was a downtown merchants association. It was a small group of business guys who put up some colored lights, strands of colored light bulbs across Washington Street and at the intersection. And I said, why I thought of it at that particular time, I don't know. But that is really how it all began. From that, I started thinking about other things that could be done, things that we could do. I talked to some people. I told them the idea that I had. They all thought I was insane. I said, why don't we go out and raise some money, and maybe we can get 8 strands of lights. I researched how much the lights were. They were $240 a strand, the lights that we used to have up, which is another story we're going to have to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to raise enough money. I thought it was feasible to raise enough money for 8 strands of lights. So I got some press. I might have done a cable show. I know I was in the newspaper. And there were some other things that we wanted to do, like pictures with Santa for free. And so I put together a committee. I called a bunch of people that I knew. Most of them at the time were townies. And I said, look, this is what I want to do. Will you help me? And they went, sure. So we met, and my vision was that we wanted to do a non-political, non-religious event. We just wanted to go out and have fun for a day and not have to cost the parents or anybody any money.
Right.
We maintained that for 20 years. For 20 years. I don't know if people understand that, but you know, we used to get in battles every year with these cart vendors and people trying to come in and sell stuff on WinterFest Day, and it just wasn't allowed. But we started meeting back then, and the first meeting we had was in Town Hall. And a guy came in who I'd never seen before, heard that we were looking for some committee members, sits down, he doesn't say one word through the whole meeting. The meeting ends, and he gives me $240 in cash. Yeah, there was $240 for the strands. He gives me $240. And I was kind of taken back by it. Well, it turns out that it was Ted Coakley, who was still with me today, 22 years later. He went around, knocked on the doors in his neighborhood. He had just moved out here from Dorchester. He lives down East Whitman. And he gave us the money. We bought, strand of lights. And that's how it started. After that, we started meeting. We didn't continue meeting in Town Hall. We started meeting at my house, which we have for the last 20-something years. It was starting out, yes, we were buying the lights. We were going to put the lights up. And it was just going to be a one-day thing.
It was going to be simple.
Very simple, one day. Well, it turns out that we raised enough money for 24 strands of lights. Huge amount of money, 24 strands of lights.
Wow.
So we bought 24 strands of lights. It was actually 20 of the simple strands, and then the center was a little bit different. Well, now we have the lights. Well, there's nothing to string them to. So I had to get another group of people to literally wire the whole town. I mean, we had to put up the cables to hold those lights.
Yeah, we actually, I saw it not too long ago, I was in the past couple of weeks. There was actually a Whitman magazine piece showing yourself and some other individuals and showing like one of the bucket trucks going up and stringing the cable, and then you and a couple other singing hi ho, hi ho.
That was at the end when we actually put the lights up.
Right, but we saw the process.
It took, I actually got IBEW 103, some members of it, electrical union, got involved in helping us put up the cable. We had to buy some aircraft cable. But then you get the cable, you got to plug them into something. So we had to devise a way to light these things. It wasn't done overnight. It took a few months to do. And we got the lights up, and the very first time that we put them all on, it was just,
Magical.
very exciting. And frankly, it excited me up until the last time the lights went up. People had often asked why we don't put the lights up. Oh, we stopped putting them up. Well, we were stopped from putting them up. I had a friend that I served on another committee with that was higher up in Eastern Edison. We never asked permission to put the cables up to put the lights up. We just did it. And the guy kept telling me, Richard, he goes, at some point they're going to make you stop doing it. I mean, yeah, no, they're not going to do it. We'll just keep doing it. Next year he'd say, they're going to make you stop doing this. Well, then Rockland followed up by doing it, and then he 3 or 4 years in a row he kept saying, they're going to make you stop doing it. Well, finally came the time where they said, you are not putting those up. And it was a lame reason why. I mean, they said that it was a safety issue, that the poles were going to fall, something crazy. The world was going to come to an end, I don't know. But the fact is that they had been up there for 13 years.
It wasn't a problem.
Not once. We never had a light come down. We did have a big truck hit one time, and he stretched that light to about 60 feet long, and it came down, but nothing ever fell, nothing got hurt, nobody got hurt, but they made us stop putting up. It became a bit of a battle between me and the Edison Company, where we were kind of going on the offense, attacking them for taking away our ability to put these lights up.
Sure.
And they finally, just to shut us up, bought us, I don't know if you remember the tree that's been floating in the town park pond.
Yep.
They bought us that tree just to shut up. But what nobody really knows is last year, we were going to put them up again. Without asking anybody, we were just going to put them up.
Do it.
And we spent 2 Saturdays where we have the lights stored.
Looking at them.
We went through every strand of lights. We replaced every bulb because we had this plan to go put them up on one Sunday morning. So one Sunday morning, just before Thanksgiving, it was probably just about a year ago, some of the committee members on a viciously cold morning went down to the pond and floated the tree, and myself and Chief Timmy Greno went uptown to start putting up the lights, and not thinking that these cables have been up there over 20 years and we'd never looked at them, checked them. And the way the lights went up is they were hooked on one end, and then the cord came down and you pulled them across the street. So Timmy was up in the bucket truck, and we hooked the light the way that it should have been done, and the cord was hanging down. So I grabbed the cord and I started pulling it across South Avenue, and I got just about all the way across the street, and the entire thing fell in the middle of the street. And I went, maybe we shouldn't do this, because we hadn't checked any of the cables, so we didn't. But we came down close to putting them up again.
See, it seems to me that it started out so simple, and then you started to slowly add components. I mean, when did you start other than putting up the lights and wanting to take pictures with Santa Claus, how do you start adding components where not only were you doing stuff at Town Hall, but you're doing stuff to close off the center and other businesses got involved and fireworks. I mean, because, last year when you did it, you had all these things, all these balls up in the air, and they were fluidly going.
For many years, on WinterFest Day, there were just a lot of moving parts. People come and they show up and they spend 2 or 3 hours and they go to the different things and they stay for the parade. And I mean, it's what makes a small town a great small town. Let me tell you, I might be jumping to the end, but the last guy in the world that wanted to see this come to an end was me. But I knew that at some point it was going to happen. The first year that we did this, I remember sitting at the kitchen table. My wife was sitting there and I said, we've done all this work, we've done all this planning. What happens if nobody shows up? Well, the next day, WinterFest Day, the temperature was like 70 degrees. It's in December. It's a Saturday. It's warm as anything. There's a line we're in Town Hall to get ready to take the pictures. And there was a line from Town Hall that went down the walkway past the post office.
Right.
And I looked and I went, wow, I guess some people are going to show up. And from that started everything else. And we would meet for months. I mean, even now, last year we met. This wasn't done overnight. There's a tremendous amount of work that went into WinterFest, which is one of the things that I stated the night that I spoke before the Board of Selectmen, that there was an extravagant amount of work. And we're all 20 years older than we were. Over those 20, will be 22 years in March that we started meeting. I had a committee member get killed. We've had some committee members get burnt out in a couple of years. We've had some that have stayed for the entire length of time. We have one that just had open heart surgery. We're not kids anymore.
Right.
And part of the problem, I think, as well, is, we started on WinterFest Day, the day at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we would go till, 7 o'clock at night. It's a tremendous amount of work. The first couple of years that we did it, so we started as a one-day event. We had a 20-year run. I think that was a pretty good run. The first few years, we had a formal dance, like a ball, after WinterFest.
Oh, goodness.
So we would end the festivities in the center. We'd go home and we'd change and we'd put on our suits or whatever, and we'd go to a dance.
Right.
But then the next morning, because the DPW superintendent that we had at the time refused to help us in any way, including sweeping the streets, the committee went back and raked the lawn of Town Hall and swept the streets. From Tedeschi's to the center,
Goodness.
Literally the committee members swept the streets. That went on for several years. Good news is that the subsequent DPW superintendent, like all other town officials, helped us tremendously. We could not have done what we did without the help of, obviously, the selectmen okaying it, the police department, which closed down a tremendous area of the center,
Sure.
the fire department, the DPW. It was a tremendous community coordination and cooperation. And other than what was paid to those town employees, the event was paid for by us. We raised the money by doing the carnival for about 15 years and by a fundraising letter. And it was the same businesses that we went to year after year after year.
They would donate.
Every year. I could sit here and tell you the names of the businesses, I'm not going to, that would donate year after year, and substantial amounts of money. It got to be more expensive every year,
right,
as we added more components.
Right.
Sometimes we took things out, put things in, but every year we tried to do something a little bit better, a little bit different.
And let's not forget that folks may sit here and think, well, all they did was, plan WinterFest, but you guys were instrumental in other areas as well. Am I correct? Whether other celebrations, right?
Yeah. Now, another thing that people drive through the center now, and they see the banners hanging off the poles. Those banners were bought and paid for by the WinterFest committee. You have the holiday banners,
right?
And then you have
the poles.
The ones on the poles, and the flag banners.
They look nice.
We were instrumental in helping the Holy Ghost Church on the 100th anniversary put up their banners. Believe it or not, Father Boyven came to me because he knew what we had done, and we helped them. So there are a lot of other things. The Board of Selectmen came to me in 1999 and said, next year is our 125th anniversary, and we want a huge celebration for the town. What do you think you can do? And I said, we'll put something together. I said, the WinterFest committee would be more than happy to do it. Of course, I hadn't asked them. And called them up and
You
said,
volunteered them.
we need a meeting, and we had a meeting, and we started a year before this happened. These are the, I pulled this out. This is the Whitman's 125th anniversary events. Our first event was a dinner dance at Ritter Country Club on Saturday, April 1st. There was significance to these dates, and don't ask me what the significance was because I don't remember. It was
15 years
yeah.
ago.
All I do remember is that this was a formal dinner dance at Ritter's, and we sold it out in a matter of 5 or 6 days.
Wow.
The thing was, it was a great community event. All the community leaders was there. Ned Kirby made a great speech. There was a lot of historical things that happened then. We did some of the other events after that. Was that particular year, there was the road race, and there was a chicken bake.
Always thinking of new ideas.
We had a historical house tour, but this was all stuff done from the WinterFest committee. The selectmen said, go do this, and the WinterFest committee sat and brainstormed and said, what can we do over a period of time? They wanted to appropriate, I don't remember if it was $25,000 or $30,000 to our committee to do these events, and I didn't want to take it. And the committee was like, what is wrong with you? We're going to have to go raise the money, at least seed money, to do this. Jack Burnett, the late Jack Burnett from the VFW, came to me and he said to me, I understand that you don't want to take the money from the town. I said, no, I don't want to take it. He said, well, who's going to pay for it? I went, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. He said, take the money. And we had a long talk. I'd known Jack my entire life. He was actually a friend of my dad's. And he said, take the money. And if you have any left, give it back. So we reluctantly took the money and we gave most of it back. But it did provide us the seed money to get tickets printed, to reserve a hall, and to do things. We had a road race. We had a chicken bake. We had another dance. And it ended in June.
June 11th.
June 11th with the largest parade that Whitman had ever seen. So it was really gratifying. But we met for a year. We met every 2 weeks for a year just to do the 125th anniversary stuff. At the same time, we were doing WinterFest. At the same time, the WinterFest Carnival fell within that time frame. So we had a lot of stuff going on. Then we had a group approach me about redoing the playground. We had done the first playground a few decades ago.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was pressure-treated lumber, and it was condemned. It was not good. We didn't know it at the time. So I said, yeah, we'll do a playground. Then I asked the WinterFest committee, hey, will you guys do a playground? And we spent 18 months doing the playground. We raised $125,000 in 18 months. 50 of it, $50,000 came from Nestle's. June O'Leary, with her contacts and some other people, was able to get us a check for $50,000. We raised $75,000. The people that we finally selected to build us the playground said it was impossible that a community of our size could do that in that time frame. Now,
You did it.
Yeah, we did it. And because it's a wonderful community. Of course, the economy was a lot different then. People had money, people didn't mind donating, it was a great cause. The WinterFest committee would go out on Sunday mornings. We'd get a mini bus, a minivan, and the WinterFest committee would pile into the van and we would go visit playgrounds. A couple times I thought we were going to be arrested because they thought there was, these adults visiting playgrounds in a van.
What's going on with this?
But we went to a number of playgrounds. My wife deserves the credit of actually pretty much the design of the playground and what's in it. She dealt with the playground. I raised the money, we raised the money, and then we did the playground. I mean, we had a little bit of involvement in the finalization of refurbishing the basketball court, but that's,
But you haven't been a one-hit wonder. You haven't been a one-event thing. I get the message here is that this committee, even though it's under the umbrella of the WinterFest committee, has been responsible for a number of things for the 125th anniversary and all the events that went on with that, the refurbishing the playground. And let's not forget, celebrating last the New Year's Eve that just passed, the New Year, ringing it in with a giant cookie and all the little festivities that the WinterFest committee was had their hand in on that too.
So that's a good story. And what happened there was I had this idea in my mind for years that we should drop a Nestle's Toll House cookie in Whitman Center. Because I worked at the Toll House, as did a number of other people, when I was 13. So it was a while ago. But we all know about the Toll House and the Toll House cookie. Sure. And I said, that would be a good idea. So I brought it up to a couple of people, and it kind of, they're like, he's out of his mind, and they let it go. And one day I got talking to a gentleman who Dr. Karl Kowalski worked for at Massasoit. I don't know how it came up, but Dr. Wall said to me, I think Dr. Kowalski is interested in doing something like that. I said, that's it. I'll find Karl, we'll get this done. Karl's, now on the Board of Selectmen, was then. So I literally ran into him, almost ran him over in the center one day, and I got out of the car, and he probably thought I was crazy, and I said, Karl, I understand that you think that we should, He said, yeah. I said, let's do it. He said, really? I said, I'll get the WinterFest committee to do it. So it was another one of those, we have to have a meeting. And as you well know, you were there for many of the meetings. You documented it. No one knows until this very minute that
we documented it
for a year. How long did we meet?
Faithfully every month.
For a year.
Yeah, for a couple of hours each time.
But we couldn't do it without the participation and the support of Nestle's, because I didn't have the time, the effort, the stomach to go out and raise the money that we thought.
And let's not forget, you were doing this in conjunction while you were also doing, you not only did just one event, you did two. You did your regular WinterFest, and then in the same, parallel universe, you were getting things ready for New Year's.
So we were, and again, it wasn't, as you well know, it wasn't until well on that nobody knew we were doing this, because if we couldn't get the money from Nestle's,
right.
And again, that was going to be, we didn't want people to know.
Right.
And again, that was a one-shot deal. We did, however, have the cookies starting to be fabricated at Social Votech in the meantime. So what do you think that the three people on the phone thought the day I had the conference call with Nestle's, and I said, listen, here's what I'd like to do. And I was on the phone with three people from Nestle's for a half hour. Before I got off the phone, they committed $15,000 to us.
Huge.
I went back to the committee. I hadn't told them, and announced we have $15,000. And as we know, the rest is history. So we successfully did it. It was good timing. It was just New Year's Eve was the launch of the 75th anniversary of the Nestle's Toll House Chocolate Chip Cookie. So we did it. It was successful, although it was pretty darn cold out. So now comes, the end of WinterFest.
You had to make that announcement. How tough was that, and what kind of feedback did you get from it?
Well, I got my brains beat in for a couple of days on
social media.
Yeah, social media. I got my brains beat in. I went before the Board of Selectmen. I actually have the speech with me that I made. It was very simple. And I just simply said, WinterFest started as a one-day event over 20 years ago. In these past 20 years, we have brought you the WinterFest celebration 20 times, organized and conducted the year-long events for the 125th anniversary of Whitman, culminating in the largest parade of Whitman. This isn't bad without my glasses. Whitman has ever seen. Conducted carnivals for 15 years to raise the funds for WinterFest, had designed and built the playground, and brought you the first ever first night. In those 21 years, we have... and then I said, this was the hardest thing I've ever done. One of the hardest things I ever done. I said, Mr. Chairman, times have changed and things have changed, and all good things must come to an end. Due to many factors and the extravagant amount of work involved in WinterFest, the committee voted unanimously to cease doing WinterFest. We think that 20 years is a pretty good run for what was a one-day event.
Right.
It's hard to read it again. And then went on to say, if granted permission by the board, we will do at least one more first night if we can put it together.
Right.
And then I just thanked all the people that have been involved in the committee that raised, that spent their time, gave us money. And I've said it many times, and I'll say it again, that the WinterFest committee is, and I've been on countless committees and organizations in the last 30, 35 years, and by far the best committee, because it's not a political body,
right,
is the best committee I've ever been on. So, yeah, I think the blow would have been softened if perhaps the Whitman Express had picked up a story and ran with it and interviewed me. Unfortunately, the night that I did it, I don't know, I used to dealing with Tracy Seeley, who would have run a front page story. It didn't get run, it got buried in the Selectmen's News. It took a couple days for the word to get out there, and then there were several people that it didn't have anything to do with the money.
How do you respond to the critics who say, "Oh, why did they wait so long? Why did they pick a new committee?" How do you respond to people who say stuff like that?
It's very hard. I guess I can be somewhat opinionated, so I have to be very careful of how I respond to your question.
Correct. But I think it deserves an answer.
We have tried for years, to bring new members in all the time. And it's like any group or organization that I've ever been involved with. It's a few people that do all the work. People will say, oh, it's a great idea, but they don't want to step up to the plate to help you. I know I'll probably get slammed again for my comments, but the fact of the matter is it's extremely difficult, it's extremely time consuming. It isn't just the one-day event for 3 or 4 hours, it's a commitment. It's a commitment, the haunted house in Whitman had a 36-year run.
Oh, fantastic
and
event.
It
stopped.
And they didn't get hammered because social media wasn't prevalent at the time.
Right.
There was people that were putting things out that weren't true. I mean, everybody knows where I work. Everybody knows my phone number. There was a few people that were hammering me, and there was a number of people that said thank you for 20 years. I was very grateful to those people.
We get less than 3 minutes left here. You want to tell folks about the upcoming event?
Yeah, because here's what we're going to do. Everybody thinks that we absconded with a gazillion dollars. WinterFest costs about $12,000 a year to run. Some years we made more than others at the carnival. There was $6,000 that we raised from last year's carnival. It was a terrible carnival for a number of reasons. It was poorly attended. Social media killed us that said it was a lousy carnival. And part of the reason is that a lot of the food vendors didn't show up because the carnival wasn't attended years prior, and they went someplace else for that week where they could make some money. The fireworks didn't happen, had nothing to do with us. It was a complete fluke. The truck on the way down here broke down. It's full of explosives. It's Jack Keogh, the guy that does our carnival, said he's never seen it happen. Anyway, we decided that we were going to take the money from WinterFest and try to do one more first night. Doing another first night is not as difficult. There's not a lot of moving parts. It's right there in Whitman Center, and it's pretty easy. I reached out to Nestle's literally 2 weeks ago. Sent him an email. I haven't had correspondence with him for a while. Told them that we intended to do this again. We would love some support if you could do something for us, even if it was a few $1,000s. 2 days later, Nestle's said we'll send you $2,000, which takes all the stress, so we have $8,000.
Good.
Last year we spent $15,000. We spent every nickel, and what was left we gave to South Shore Boat Tech. We're going to do it again this year. We've arranged the fireworks. We have hired the Divas with a Twist that played for the Mothers Club at Town Hall a few weeks ago, which I saw them play. We were there. I said, these girls are terrific. I want them. We hired them. We're going to do fireworks. It's going to be similar. Mike Costas and his wife are coming back from Arizona to play New Year's Eve in Whitman Center. We'll have fireworks.
And who's going to host this?
Big Daddy Ray,
okay.
Once again.
Do you have a website for folks if they want to check it out?
Yeah, we do.
You do?
And it's Whitman First Night, I think.
Okay.
Josh McNeil handles that.
We'll pop that up on the screen.
And we'll make sure it's better than, that people know what's going on. So we invite everybody to come out. This could be the very last first night. I can't guarantee that it will happen again.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And talking about it. And folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. If you get a chance, check out Whitman's, it could be final first night festivities. But that's another Crosstalk. Until next time, have a